Welcome to another episode of our video series of the mechanics of human cognition. It's great to have you with us. We're going to get into something really fundamental today, something that shapes our entire reality. We usually think of language as just, a tool we use to talk to each other, but it's so much more than that. It's really the foundational software, the operating system that runs your mind. So the big question is, why are so many of us letting this critical piece of software get buggy and slow?
You hear this debate all the time, right? It's usually framed as this big cultural battle, this idea that foreign words are sneaking in and somehow diluting our native language. But honestly, that entire conversation misses the real point. This isn't really about culture, it's about cognition.
Because the actual risk isn't to some abstract national identity. No, the danger is to our own individual minds, to our ability to think. Every time we take a linguistic shortcut, whether it's borrowing a word we don't need or just defaulting to simpler terms, we are actively downgrading our own mental hardware. We're reducing our ability to think clearly, to perceive the world in high definition. To really get this, you have to accept this one core idea. Your native language isn't just something you learn, like a subject in school. It is the primary tool that builds your consciousness. From the moment you're born, the language around you is physically forging the neural pathways in your brain, creating the very architecture of your thought process.
And I want to be clear, this is not just a poetic metaphor. Your mother tongue provides the actual blueprint for your thinking. Its rules, its grammar, its syntax, they aren't just for making proper sentences. They are the logical scaffolding your brain uses to construct every single idea and process every experience. It's the native code your mind defaults to every second of the day.
Okay, so how does this programming actually happen inside our heads? Well, it's not like you're just memorizing a list of words from a dictionary. The process is much more organic, much more interconnected than that.
At its core, your brain is a connectional machine. It doesn't store a word like love in some isolated file cabinet. No, it creates a node in a vast, sprawling web. Instantly, that one word is linked to concepts of family, to memories, to scenes from movies, maybe even to the specific neurochemical reactions associated with the feeling.
We can call this a meaning cloud. Every single word becomes its own hub, radiating connections out to feelings, stories, history, and countless other words. The denser and richer this web of connections is, the faster your mind can work. It allows you to make these incredible leaps between concepts. And that agility, well, that's what we call creativity.
So this brings us right to the problem. What happens when we stop cultivating this incredibly complex and powerful neural network? Well, we start taking shortcuts, and those shortcuts, it turns out, come with a very high cognitive price tag.
See, when your internal language network is weak or sparse, your brain struggles to find the precise word it needs in the moment. So what does it do? It takes the path of least resistance. It grabs a trendy foreign term it just heard, or maybe just a generic curse word. This isn't just a bad habit, it's a dashboard warning light, signaling that your cognitive engine is struggling.
In this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Think of your mind as a high-definition screen. Every nuanced word you know is a pixel. The more pixels you have, the sharper and more detailed the image of reality you can perceive. When you start losing those words, your perception of the world literally becomes blurry.
Just look at this table. A high-resolution mind can clearly distinguish between sorrow, grief, anxiety, and melancholy. These are all very different states, right? They require different responses, different solutions. But in a low-resolution mind, they all just collapse into one big, blurry, unmanageable blob called stress. And here's the kicker. You cannot solve a problem that you cannot clearly define.
Now, this passive approach is incredibly common. Take a word like television. It was essentially just imported into many languages. It's functional, sure, it gets the job done, but it doesn't add any new, meaningful connections to the existing cognitive network. It's like a software patch, not a genuine upgrade.
Now let's contrast that with a proactive approach. When the computer arrived, Turkish speakers coined a new word, bilgisayar, which literally combines bilgi, knowledge, and sayar, counter. This wasn't just slapping a new label on something. It was creating a new concept, one that instantly linked this new machine to existing deep ideas about knowledge and calculation, enriching and strengthening the entire mental network in the process. So, how do we fight back against this cognitive downgrade? How can we strengthen our own mental operating system? Well, the solution is actually pretty simple. It's like a workout for your brain. Seriously, Try this. Pick any word you use all the time: sincere, disaster, companion, anything. Just look up where it came from. You will immediately see it branch out, connecting to history, to science, to other words in ways you never ever imagined. Every single time you do this, you are literally reinforcing and building new connections in your neural network.
Now let's look at a truly high-resolution word. Take Farasat, a concept from Arabic. You might translate it as insight, but that's like calling a supercomputer a calculator. It doesn't come close. Farasat is that deep perception that lets a seasoned detective just know what happened at a crime scene, or a master strategist see the entire battlefield in their mind. It's a form of wisdom that's born from seeing deep patterns that others miss.
And you can see its meaning network right here. This single word is a portal to an entire universe of ideas, wisdom, foresight, discernment, and centuries of cultural experience packed into one concept. This is the kind of cognitive richness we just throw away every time we settle for a simple, low-resolution shortcut.
Now, let's zoom out. Take this idea of a rich mental network and scale it up from your own mind to all of humanity. This isn't just about our individual brain health anymore. This is about the collective cognitive legacy of our entire species. The health of our languages is the health of our collective mind.
Right now, today, humanity speaks roughly 7,000 different languages. And you have to understand, each one of those is a completely unique operating system for the mind, a distinct intellectual toolkit that's been refined over thousands of years of human experience.
But look at this. We are losing this incredible diversity at a catastrophic rate. Projections show that by the year 2100, we could lose half of them. And let me be clear, this isn't just about losing words. This is the permanent deletion of entire world views, unique ways of thinking that are completely irreplaceable.
And neuroscience is now confirming why this is so critical. Studies show that different languages literally compel our brains to use different neural networks to solve the exact same problem. Think about it like a toolbox. There is no single best tool for every job. The more diverse tools we have in our collective human toolkit, the more resilient and adaptable we are, the more problems we'll be able to solve.
So ultimately, it really comes down to this. Linguistic diversity is cognitive diversity. Preserving the world's languages isn't some quaint, nostalgic project for linguists. It's a strategic necessity for the future of human thought and problem solving. Our ability to tackle the challenges of the future might just depend on it.
And that brings us right back to you. Your native language isn't just a collection of words. It is a sprawling, cosmic universe of interconnected ideas, history, and wisdom. So the only question left is, how much of that universe have you actually explored?